Psalm 96 says this: Sing to the Lord a new song. Sing to the Lord all the earth. Sing to the Lord, praise his name. Proclaim his salvation day after day. Declare his glory among the nations, his marvelous deeds among all peoples. For great is the Lord, and most worthy of praise. He is to be feared above all gods. For the gods of the nations are idols, but the Lord made the heavens. Splendor and majesty are before him. Strength and glory are in his sanctuary. Ascribe to the Lord, O families of nations. Ascribe to the Lord glory and strength. Ascribe to the Lord the glory due his name. Bring an offering and come into his courts. Worship the Lord in the splendor of his holiness. Tremble before him, all the earth. Say among the nations, the Lord reigns. The world is firmly established, it cannot be moved. He will judge the peoples with equity. Let the heavens rejoice, let the earth be glad, let the sea resound and all that is in it. Let the fields be jubilant and everything in them. Then all the trees of the forest will sing for joy. They will sing before the Lord, for he comes. He comes to judge the earth. He will judge the world in righteousness and the peoples in his truth. Amen. May God bless to us this reading from his holy word. What do we think about Psalm 96? What is Psalm 96 about? Well, it was one of those psalms that was written during the Babylonian exile while the children of Israel were on the other side of the Euphrates River in captivity by the Babylonians. And it comes from what we know are the fourth book of Psalms. The Psalms are split into 5 books. And they're a collection of songs that were written over a 500-year period. And each of these reflects a different period of Israel's history and what God was doing in these days and what was happening to the children of Israel. Some are joyful, some are laments, they are poetic, they are cries for justice, for freedom and deliverance. So we might wonder, what was the emotional mindset of those who were in captivity in Babylon when Psalm 96 was composed and sung? The exiled children of Israel sang to remind themselves of their homeland of Israel. They were singing psalms of Zion. And this psalm begins by saying, Sing to the Lord a new song, praise his name. Proclaim his salvation day after day. You know, American history includes a dark period when the slave trade was common practice and the wealth of the nation was built on it and depended on it. But Negro slaves, these Negro slaves going through such a time of exile and affliction, began to compose Negro spiritual songs that are filled with the hope of deliverance, thoughts of God and thoughts of heaven. They were so desperate that for many of them, the only hope for their deliverance was in the Lord. And that's sort of what the children of Israel are feeling while they're in captivity. Such desperation. They're hoping and praying for God to restore them to their land and for the Lord to fulfill his promise to deliver them. So these songs are sung out of affliction and the experience of being in captivity. But they sing of the Lord reigning, no matter what it looks like or how bad it gets. Their confidence is in the Lord. He reigns. He's in control. Say among the nations, the Lord reigns. You know, it's one thing to sing songs of praise to God when life is going well, when the road before us is smooth, when it's sunshine outside and life's hunky-dory. But that doesn't really reflect our experience at the moment, does it? It's not going well at the moment. Life is very difficult. So do we stop singing praises to God? songs that affirm our trust in him to lead us through this valley and to sustain us in the trial. It's easy to sing when things are going well. It's another thing to sing when you're afflicted, when nothing around you resembles normal life and is the opposite of how you want it to be. We see something of that singing out of affliction in Acts 16 when Paul and Silas were arrested, brutally beaten with rods and thrown into the prison. Where they're placed in an inner cell, that means there would be no light at all. It would be a dark place, and their feet were fastened in stocks, so it would be very uncomfortable. And it must have seemed completely hopeless to them. But we read that around midnight, they're praying and singing songs to God, and suddenly there's a violent earthquake, and the foundations of the prison were shaken. The prison doors flew open, and everyone's chains fell off. You see, Paul and Silas did not have their focus on their circumstances. They had their focus on God, who is sovereign, who reigns, who is in control, who is mighty to deliver and greater than our circumstances. In the deepest and darkest place of the night, and doesn't everything seem worse through the night when it's dark? But their songs in the night broke through the darkness and ushered in the light of God over their situation. Friends, what songs are we singing at this time when everything seems so dark? And why sing a new song to the Lord? Well, as I said, the Psalms were composed over a substantial period of time, each reflecting different periods of Israel's history. So each generation sang songs that told of their experience of what was happening and their declaration of their trust and faith in God who knew the beginning from the end. The gospel message never changes, but the way we share that message should change as each generation changes. But often we refuse to do this. We don't want new songs. We want the old hymns. The old hymns are better. We want the old wine. Whilst it's true there is beauty and majesty in many of our old hymns, many of them were composed during revivals of the past. They may be beautiful, but they're describing what God did 100, 200, or 300 years ago. We need to consider what God is doing today. We need to be composing new songs that speak of where we are and what God is doing in this season. Martin Luther, the great reformer, decided he would be a contemporary. So he took the melodies people were singing in bars around Germany and he put Christian words to them. People were appalled. How dare he desecrate and ruin worship of God by using these popular contemporary melodies? And yet we still sing many of them today, including Away in a Manger. General Booth of the Salvation Army decided he wanted to get the gospel to the person on the street. So he said, I'm going to scrap the organ and the piano. You can't take them out into the street anyway. And instead he took drums and guitars and brass instruments and cymbals, and he started marching through the streets, singing new songs unto the Lord and about the Lord. And he led many to faith as a result. But the average church person said it was the devil's music. Can we ask the Lord to give us new songs for this generation? Songs that reflect where we are today and sing of what God is doing in our midst. Songs to declare amongst the nations and to the people of the street who are scared, lonely, and struggling in this difficult season of the glory of God, of his marvelous deeds, of his faithfulness and love, of his sovereignty, and of his promise of salvation and deliverance. Sing to the Lord a new song. Sing to the Lord all the earth. Sing to the Lord, praise his name. Proclaim his salvation day after day. Psalm 96 encourages us to sing praises to God, whatever we are going through, and to affirm the gospel message for this generation. Amen.